to another one of your questions. I am Coach Mack, the founding health coach of Running with Bacon, where I help women feel like themselves again, one small step at a time. And I am joined, as always, by our co-host, Renata.
Hello, everyone. I'm Renata from Nourished with Renata. I'm here to empower women to nourish their bodies, minds, and spirits.
So good. We have a fantastic question, and I am really looking forward to hearing your answer to it. And I'm going to read it. I have it on the screen next to me. I'm going to read it so I don't mess it up because, it is verbatim. So it says, when my New Year motivation to get healthier leaves, what do I need to do to stay on track? So what are your thoughts?
Yes. Well, I love this question because I think we can really all resonate with the feeling of having a high amount of motivation right at the beginning of the year. And then 3 weeks in, studies have shown that 80% of people just completely quit their New Year's resolutions by that time. And so I have absolutely been there, as I'm sure you've been there and everybody watching has been there. So what do you do when there's no motivation? I think that Mack is going to talk a little bit about habits, which I am a huge proponent of. So I'm going to leave all of that science to her. So I wanted to share with you something that has been really helpful for me when motivation leaves, and that is having a purposeful system of inspiration. So what does that mean? When I was starting out on my personal development journey, I started on YouTube and kind of got on this rabbit hole of listening to Lewis Howes, The School of Greatness, listening to Mel Robbins, listening to Tom Bilyeu, all these amazing personal development people. And I just kind of got hooked in it. And it became this habit that each day I would listen to them or watch a video, and it really made me feel inspired. So fast forward to a few years later, and I had found actually that my motivation was gone. I was feeling really low. I was kind of at a loss. I didn't really know what to do. And a friend of mine, Karen, shout out to Karen, asked this really amazing question, which I think is so funny because she curses, which I don't curse, so I'm not going to drop an F-bomb here. But the question was, what did you do when you were a mother effing badass? And I was like, that's an amazing question. But the sentiment is true, right? What did you do when you felt like you were at your best? And so for me, it clicked that, way back when I was starting on my personal development journey and I was feeling really motivated and I had energy to do the things that I wanted to do, it was because I had a system of inspiration that each day I would find something that would inspire me to keep going, to reach for that next rung of the ladder, to take the action that was scary. And so when motivation leaves, I just encourage everybody to have a list on their phone of things that inspire them. Maybe it's video links, maybe it's podcast links, maybe it's pictures, maybe it is a feeling, a mantra, a quote, but have something that you refer to each day and make it a list that you can add to each day. Whenever someone sends you a video of something that you're like, oh my gosh, that's so inspiring. Like yesterday, I saw this video of a woman that carried 2 huge wooden logs on her back by herself. And I thought, how incredible is that? That's going on the inspiration list, so that each day you get into the habit, into the practice of finding something that brings you that inspiration, that motivation, so that you keep going no matter what. Mack, what about you?
Oh man, that was such a good answer. I wasn't sure what I was expecting when you said I was going to talk habit stuff. And so you had a little bit of a different answer. And I am blown away because I think that's so good. And I might note that getting into the routine, having a system for inspiration, that's a habit in and of itself. So it's basically like a habit of getting inspired each day. So you're not waiting for this fairy dust of motivation to be sprinkled over you each day. Yeah, you're going out and seeking it, and it's making a huge impact. And so I think that's such a cool answer and something I actually want to start. I think that's amazing. But as you mentioned, yes, my response to when motivation leaves, because it will, inevitably it will, it's science that it comes and goes. It's like a wave where you're going to have high amounts of motivation, you're going to have meh, kind of, and then you're going to have absolutely no motivation. And I'll be honest, that little fairy with her motivation dust did not hit me this new year. I was so not motivated to start working out again because I had gone on a trip. And so coming back from it, I didn't want to work out, but what I had was kind of like you, a system, AKA my routines, my habits that I do each day. I have those in place so that I don't rely on motivation to get me going. Because the real secret to motivation that most people aren't talking about is that it follows action. Action comes first. Doing something and getting started comes first. And then you get motivated to do the thing. So in my example, I do this every day, almost every day. There are some exceptions, but my shutdown routine from work is 3 steps. I close down my laptop, I fill up my Bubba cup for my workout, and then I head upstairs to get changed into my workout clothes. And by the time I do those 3 steps, I am ready to work out. I'm mentally ready to work out. Even when, if I'm shutting down my laptop and I'm like, oh, I don't want to do this today. By the end of those 3 steps, 99.9% of the time, I am mentally ready to work out. I may still not want to actually do the workout, but I'm going to do it because it's just part of my day. It's what I do. It's who I am. That's how my day goes. And I've deliberately set up my day like that so that it takes out the decision making for me. I don't wake up in the morning wondering, am I going to work out today? Or am I going to prep my lunch, my healthy lunch today? I don't wake up and ask, am I going to drink my water today? I wake up knowing I'm going to do those things because those habits are built into my day. And just like you were saying, you can have a mantra or a phrase that you say to yourself that starts the thing, that starts the chain reaction down your habit. It's essentially a big called habit stack. That's what a routine is a habit stack. One habit on top of another, on top of another. Same way you brush your teeth, the same way you get into your car, the same way you do most stuff that you do every day, make your coffee or order your coffee, all that stuff. It is one big giant habit stack. That's a routine. And so if you can establish your routines on purpose, most of us have our morning routine or our nighttime routine, whatever it is, our routines kind of happen by default. We did them like once or twice and they worked. And so we didn't really need to change it. And then maybe like a kid came along or a job change or whatever. So they just kind of change and morph. But for the most part, we just let them happen. But if you get really intentional about your routines and your habits, you can actually design them on the front end. It does take a little bit of work to get them set up, but then they just work for you. And you don't have to make those decisions every day. You know you're going to work out. You know you're going to eat well. You know you're going to drink the water. You know you're going to sleep, like all those things. And it's really, it takes away a lot of the decision fatigue that we talk about of like, you just don't want to make another choice today, then don't. Let your habits do it for you. Let your habits make the choice when you have all that energy and motivation to design them. So that is my recommendation for when your motivation leaves for the year or for however long. Hopefully it comes back at some point, but get those habits set up now when you are motivated and establish them, get those routines. And that way you're not relying on motivation that's non-existent down the road.
I think that's so powerful and so important because I think one of the things that you say and James Clear always says is that we're like a product of our habits. And so once you have those habits in place, you know you're going to reach your goals as long as those habits are built, to be able to funnel into any of the goals that you might set for the year. And I wanted to add one more thing because sometimes I feel like, especially when motivation leaves, you're like, why does it feel so hard? Right?
Yes.
Just like, why? Right? And so for a long time, I would get stuck at that feeling. So I'd just be like, everything sucks. I hate doing this. This is the worst. Why do I have to do it? Right? And I would get stuck at that feeling. One of the things I learned recently from a neuroscientist was actually that when we're creating new habits, that feeling of it being hard is part of it because our brain has to utilize more calories in order to create a new neural connection in order for a new habit to be created. So it's going to feel a little bit hard. That's part of it. And so I love knowing that because that then tells my brain, oh, okay, when I'm feeling that this is hard and I know that it is something that I really want to do for my health and well-being, for instance, then it's like, oh, I'm doing it right. Like It's supposed to feel a little bit hard at first, and that's okay. So don't be put off by anything that feels, a little bit hard when motivation leaves, because that's part of the process. And eventually, just like you said, once the habit is in place, it will just become automatic.
Absolutely. So hopefully this is helpful. Hopefully this video is catching you right at the time when your motivation is starting to fade or leave, and you can implement these strategies to carry on your health goals throughout the rest of the year. We will see you all in the next one.